You're watching Alabama Crimson Tide football recruiting. Trey Kennedy joined by 18-year veteran, best-selling author Andrew Bone as we have breaking news out of Tuscaloosa. Wilkin Formby, the offensive lineman, has committed with the Crimson Tide out of the 2023 class. Bone, another big commitment as we get through this month of June. Talk about what led to this decision for Formby and ultimately why he decided to choose the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, obviously a big commitment for Alabama in a few different ways. I mean, this is a 6'8", 300-pound offensive lineman. Plays tackle at his high school. Could potentially move inside the guard at the next level, but Alabama really pushed hard for him. Really, ever since early spring. I guess probably since February when they first extended him an offer. And, Eric Wolford, Alabama's first-year offensive line coach, had a really strong relationship with Wilkin really throughout the entire process, really from the start of Wilkin's recruitment. I mean, Kentucky offered Wilkin last year. He went up to Kentucky's camp last summer, competed, and really had developed a really strong connection with Coach Wolford during his time in Lexington. Then Coach Wolford ends up getting hired by Alabama, and that relationship just continued. And I think the biggest thing with Wilkin is he always felt like, ever since Alabama extended him that offer, he always felt like a priority to them. This wasn't a guy who was just a local lineman whose grandfather played at Alabama, I mean, and they were going to, take his commitment if he wanted to commit. Alabama treated Wilkin like a top priority, and we've seen his stock continue to rise over the course of the last few months. He went to the Rivals camp back in the spring, and really had a great performance there. And he was out. I think he was outside the Rivals 250. Now he's all the way up to number 73 overall in the Rivals 100. So a big move for him. After the recruiting analyst got a chance to see him in person. But like I said, I mean, this is a big dude. Everybody just probably automatically assumes because he's that height, that length, he's going to end up being a offense tackle at the next level. Not necessarily. I still can see him potentially moving inside the guard at Alabama, but he's going to have a chance to really move around and showcase himself. But every single year, we've seen him really improve and continue to get better. I think he's got a lot more confidence in his playing ability. A strong kid who's very light on his feet. I still think there's some things that he can improve on and continue to work. But the best days for Wilkin Formby are certainly ahead of him, and this is definitely a big pickup for Alabama. Got to give a lot of credit to, like I said, Eric Wolford, but also Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is the local recruiting area guy for Wilkin Formby in Tuscaloosa, and Coach O'Brien went out and saw Wilkin pretty early during the spring evaluation period. Coach Wolford also went to go see him. They had him on campus a couple weekends ago, and obviously a big win for Alabama because there was a lot of talk over the course of the last few weeks that Ole Miss had moved ahead in his recruitment, that he was going to do something different, go to Oxford. They had treated him like a top priority recruit, but guess what? Alabama did the same thing. They were treating him like a top priority for a long time, and in the end, he decided to stay home.
He did. Nick Saban recruits well everywhere. Great to see him go in the backyard there and get Wilkin Formby. Guys, hit the like button as we get into the video today. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you think about Wilkin Formby, about this 2023 class, and subscribe to our channel if you've not already done so. Bone, we kind of talk about his skill set a little bit further. Where do you see him plugging in right away this freshman year at Alabama?
Well, I think as far as a freshman, I mean, I think what Alabama likes to do is they like to kind of play, put everybody, at different positions and try them out, see how they do at this position, see how they do at that position, and then kind of get them settled in. As we've seen with offensive linemen that have come through Tuscaloosa throughout the last several years, especially the top end guys. We've seen a lot of guys that have started out their career at the offensive guard position, and then I think we're going to see Alabama start Formby out likely at the guard position, and then move him once he develops a little bit to that tackle spot. So we'll have to wait and see once he gets on campus where they actually start him out at. But I can see him potentially starting out at guard. But Alabama recruited him as a lineman. They think he's got the ability to play guard or tackle. I don't think there's a set position just yet, but I think in the long run he's a tackle. Right when he gets on campus, may start his career out at guard.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. The size is just so impressive. 6'8", 306 there listed on Rivals. We'll see him, grow that as well as he gets into campus, gets to Tuscaloosa. Just kind of talk about the rest of this offensive line class. What does this mean for Alabama as they recruit more offensive line in 2023?
Well, this is a critical position for Alabama. It's a priority position in this recruiting class. I certainly believe they want to sign at least 5 offensive linemen this year. Now, that number could easily change. If there's 6 offensive linemen that want to jump on board that they are heavily recruiting that they really want, they're probably not going to say no to to one of their top 6 guys if they want to jump on board. I mean, we've seen a lot of Alabama's top targets visit Tuscaloosa over the course of the last few weeks. Samson Okunloa was in Tuscaloosa this past weekend, the 5-star out of Massachusetts. Miles McVay is on campus right now. Arrived in Tuscaloosa on Sunday evening, spending a couple days on campus. So, 2 other major targets that have been in town the last 48 hours. Looking back at last weekend, I mean, you had Caden Proctor, 5-star offensive tackle in Tuscaloosa, Francis Magoa, another major Alabama target at the offensive line position, Ola Salinan, who we've talked about for months. The big Finnish lineman who's currently in Connecticut. At boarding school in Connecticut now. He's currently in Oregon on an official visit, but he lives in Connecticut right now. You know, Rock McElderry, the lineman out of Anniston, who's committed to Georgia, was in Tuscaloosa last week. So, there's a lot of linemen that are still out there. A lot of guys they're heavily pursuing that they really want, that they feel like they're going to have a really strong chance to land. Raymond Polito, who is a impressive offensive guard, massive offensive guard, 6'6", 340 pounds, out of California, just named his top 5 a few days ago with Alabama included in that group. He camped in Tuscaloosa earlier this month, had a great performance, and really shut up Alabama's recruiting board. So there's a lot of major guys that they're going after, and a lot of guys that they feel like they're going to have a chance to potentially land. I mean, you've got 6, 7 guys right there that Alabama's probably in that top 2, top 3, 4, heading into these final visits, heading into these decisions that are coming up. So there's a lot of eyes that are going to be on Alabama offensive line coach Eric Wolford and how successful he's going to be in this class at the offensive line position. And getting Wilkin Formby on board today is a great start.
It is. They get him out of Northridge High School. Big pickup in the city, big pickup in state as well. Talk about the rest of this in-state effort here for Alabama. Peter Woods on the brink of his decision as well as some other guys. Where does Alabama stand with the rest of their in-state recruits?
A lot of these guys are going to wait a while. Quay Russo, James Smith, 2 of the very best players in the country out of Carver High School, Montgomery, in Tuscaloosa, visited Alabama today on Monday. Got a chance to spend some time on campus after coming off an official visit to Georgia this past weekend. Now they're not going to make a decision until December, so I think we're going to wait a while before we really know what's going to happen with those 2 guys. Peter Woods has set up a commitment date for July the 8th. And I know there's some confidence coming out of the Clemson side right now, but I still feel it'll be a major surprise if he ends up leaving the state and going to Clemson. And this is a kid who grew up a diehard Alabama fan, been to Tuscaloosa, just dozens and dozens of times. A lot of those times, weren't even reported. He was just going down there to hang out with friends, hang out with players on the Alabama team, hang out with the Alabama coaches that he's built a strong connection with. So still be surprised if he went into anywhere else. Kelby Collins, I think there's a chance that he could, make a decision relatively soon, potentially before the start of his senior season. I know he's going to wait until the fall before he takes his official visit to Alabama, but obviously, this is a kid that Alabama really wants. Top 100 defensive lineman from Gardendale, that they have certainly made him a top priority for a long time. One guy that I'm, still really intrigued about is Tony Mitchell, out of Thompson High School, Rivals 100 safety, can play safety, can play corner. And there's been a lot of talk that it's a Texas A&M Florida recruiting battle for Tony Mitchell for the last couple months. But he was actually in Tuscaloosa twice in the last week. made 2 visits to Alabama. Now, one was a visit with his high school team for 7-on-7, but he also came down with his family another day, spent some time on the Alabama campus, and I think the Tide's chances have certainly improved there, and they're still strongly in the mix for Tony Mitchell. But and as I mentioned, Rock McElderry out of Anniston was also in Tuscaloosa last week. But it's going to be an interesting couple months coming up, especially with a lot of these guys taking their official visits throughout the month of June. We might see some guys take some visits in late July and then make decisions in August. But I think we're going to see a very large contingent of commitments happening throughout the month of July and August, right before the season starts.
It's going to be a big month, guys. Andrew Bone is going to be the hardest worker in all of recruiting. That's why you need to hit the like button. That's why you need to continue to get in the comments, subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you think and help us continue to grow. So we wrap it up tonight, Bone. Just kind of your closing thoughts on Wilkin Formby, this 2023 class, and where it stands now with the offensive lineman.
Well, it's a great pickup today for Alabama. It's Alabama's 5th commitment in this 2025 recruiting class. 2023 recruiting class. You say final thoughts, and then I'll go back in.
Yeah.
I think Wilkin Formby is a excellent pickup for Alabama today. They didn't need to lose out on this kid. I mean, like I said, he was a priority target after they extended him an offer. It probably wouldn't have looked good if a local lineman that is a priority ended up going to Ole Miss over Alabama. But I don't think Alabama was too concerned as far as going into today. I think they felt very confident they were going to end up getting Wilkin Formby on board. I think he's rock solid with his commitment. I also think he's going to be a big representative for Alabama on the recruiting front as far as trying to help recruit other guys to Alabama. So great pickup for Alabama. I think, this is probably going to be the start of a wave of commitments that we're going to see for Alabama throughout the course of the next 2 months.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And guys, for the latest updates there, be sure to follow Andrew on Twitter at AndrewJBone. Wilkin Formby at 6'8", 306 pounds, a 4-star in the Rivals 100, has committed with Alabama out of the class of 2023. Have a great night, everybody. Roll Tide.